Yo, what is up? I made a video back in January talking about the roster moves. I made a tier list out of it, and I thought today, we'd go back and look at my tier list video and just like see if we got it right, see if we got it wrong, and kind of review our review of the roster moves. So let's do that. Pickup is Beast Mode to version 1. Okay, this is replacing Gimmick. I got this on a pretty high up tier, only because, okay, Gimmick was on his way out. I had been thinking that for 6 months or so. Version 1 obviously needs a push to get into that top 5 conversation. I do really believe that Beast Mode can be that player. He can be that guy to bring them into that top 5 conversation. I think I'm going to put this at a... Ooh. Honestly, Beast Mode's a special kind of player. I just don't know how the mentality's going to be. Because, he stepped away and now he's back. It's hard to say. I got this. I want to put this at an S tier, but it's just because he's been away a little bit. And I question the mentality, not the skill. The skill's there. I question the mentality. I think I'm going to put this at a tier. Yeah. A tier. I'm actually really excited to see Beast Mode on a team with Torment and Calm, because he's going to fit in really well. Torment's going to hold it down on the defense. Calm can go wild, basically, now that he's got just two people that are elite at waiting for the other team to give it to them and making plays happen. This could be the change that really makes version 1 get into that top 5 conversation, especially... with some of the changes that happened to the higher up teams, and we're going to get into that later. I absolutely nailed it here. Let's be honest. And honestly, the only regret I have is that I didn't put it in an S tier. And I really should have. I really should have. It was just, again, you got to talk about it. He actually was away from the game for like 2 months, I want to say. He was, I don't know if he was retiring or something. Something weird was going on. And also, I know sources was that, like, he was kind of in between teams, like as in he was thinking about joining multiple teams at this point. And so he really had no idea, like, when he joins a team, will he be on that team long term? That was my issue looking at it. But yeah, I think I'm dead on right there, especially with how I talk about the other players' playstyle. 100% want to reiterate, I think that is exactly how that team works. Torment is just great at holding it down. Calm can run crazy. Beast Mode can score and do really good. And yeah, I think I'm absolutely just dead on with this one. So, the next person is Drees, going to Envy. Leaving G2 and going to Envy. Okay, for G2, Drees was a experiment player. You guys picked him up. Didn't really know what to expect. And, I mean, he really showed, like, he's good. He's really good. Like, he's elite. Not quite like Justin or our first killer or anything like that, but like this guy's elite. This guy's up there. However, I do question going to Envy, because here's the thing. Drees is we're gonna get into a whole topic here. Drees is a player that I think needs like 3 to 6 months more of time to like win a championship. And my issue with that is Turbo Pulsa is a player that's on the downcline. I don't want to admit that. I love Turbo, but like he's on the downcline. Like, slowly but surely, he will fade away. And to bring on a player like Drees, I don't know if this is a rebuild or what this is, the transition period, but I don't think Drees is the player that's going to take Envy to a championship. I got him at a B, just because I do believe he's a good addition, but he's not going to be the change to bring Envy into a championship. The other thing that I would like to talk about is Atomic and Mist. I knew those two players on the same team would never win a championship. It was just never going to happen. They feed off of each other negatively. Their energy that they feed off of is negative. It's not even like positive. They don't feed off of each other right. I'm going to give you guys some little stuff. Turbo was thinking about leaving Envy for a long time, and Atomic, Mist is apparently, from what I hear from people, Mist is really bad mentally, and Atomic, I think for a couple of months now, at least 2-3 months now, I've realized that I don't know if Atomic or Mist have the ice, that clutchy gene, and it really was proven in that 21 game series with G2 where they were up 3-2 and then G2 won to make it 3-3, and you watched Mist put his head in his hands for like a whole minute and a half, and I thought, man, get him out of there. I don't know who their sub is, but get him out of there, because that guy was, I was done at that point, and I knew it was over. And then from there, he proceeded to whiff like 5, 6, 7 times like in the next 2 minutes. But yeah, Envy in their current state was never gonna win. And Drees, I mean, he's definitely an addition for your future, for your next 2-3 years. So, I mean, it's a good move for Envy. We just don't know how it's gonna work out. I don't think it's set up for instant success. Again, I want to say I'm pretty good with this. To be fair, again, I was talking about the 3 to 6 month period that it would take to get Drees into, like, you know, if he improves, he'll be at that level of like elite players that now we can kind of talk about beast mode, atomic, first killer, Justin, you know, elite players. So I thought maybe, hey, if he improves on the trajectory of all these other people, because I think he was 15 when he joined G2, so like if he improves on the trajectory maybe, then he could be an elite player. And that just never happened. This, as disappointing as it is, it just never happened. Just because they lost Atomic, and Atomic proved to be really good on G2. I still want to talk about that for a second, though. I was kind of accurate on the Atomic no clutch gene thing. I mean, they made it so far. Made it to 2nd place, and then lost. Like, I don't know if Atomic's going to win a championship. And I seriously, I want them to. Chicago is my favorite player. I really solidified my, like, love for Chicago as a person when I listened to his dad and JNaps's dad talk behind me, and like listening to Chicago's dad for like 10-15 minutes. I was like, yeah, I can really see like where Chicago gets it from. But yeah, pretty accurate on this. I think this was a middle tier. This is one of the best players you could have got, and I just wish he would have developed. He just never developed into that. And then this whole 2 to 3 year thing that I was talking about, that's thrown out the window. I don't know what you do now. The next, we have Agua going to Rogue with Gyro and Toroko. He's replacing Turinturo. I've been very critical on Turinturo's gameplay. He's not good, but not for the right reason. Like, usually when I think people are not good, I think of, like, being too slow. But really, my version of not good for Turin is he gives the ball away a lot. He's very panicky on defense. He's very shaky on defense. He's not like crazy at getting it around people. He's fast, but he's not crazy at getting it around people, making smart plays on the offensive side to like make goals happen. So it's like, if you don't have someone that's good on defense, he at least needs to like back it up on the offense. Turin was never going to work on Rogue, especially not with Gyro and Toroko. You need Turin as like a second man on the team, not a first man. Like not the fastest player on a team. That was never going to work out. Agua on Rogue is really exciting for the future. Like, really exciting for the future. It's just exciting to see new talent in RLCS. I think dropping Turin is more beneficial to this team than picking up Agua. So I'm actually going to put this up at... I think I'm going to put this at a B tier. I don't think this is bad. I think it's just average. I think dropping Turin is actually just as vital to Rogue's success than, you know, picking up Agua. And that's kind of... If it wasn't Turin, they were replacing like a better player, then I would have probably put this at a C. Yeah, dropping Turin's a good thing. Putting on Agua's a good thing. I don't know why those two things didn't click in my mind, that they're both really good and they're gonna be great. I should have put this at an A tier, honestly. And again, like I said, exciting for the future. I think the reason why I didn't put this at an A tier, if you want my genuine opinion, back on like that day, like going through that day, was because I think I just knew that like Rogue needs a lot more work to get to like a really good point. You know what I'm saying? Like, Agua wasn't enough to get this team to like a top 5, top 6 status, and I still don't think it's enough. You really need to drop basically this entire roster. Like, Turin was a start. It needs to be Gyro, and then it needs to be Toroko, or reverse that, whatever. Like, I know for a while here, I was actually hoping that Agua, AJ, and Retals would be a team. I thought that would be a really interesting team. It's gonna be like a 10 to 12 to 14 tier, I feel like. I just think Gyro and Taroko, they're gonna stay the same. I don't think they're getting worse as players. I just think they're gonna stay very much the same. And NA, let's be honest, it's getting better. It's getting better. Teams are coming over. The whole region is getting better as a whole. And I just don't think those guys, all the respect though. Hey, I love Gyro. Let's be very clear. But like, all the respect, it's like I just don't see them going up at the same pace of all of NA is. Maybe Agua can kind of even that out with if he gets better, but still I think this is a I'm kind of on that like B tier trade. Like, it was a good trade. I won't deny it was a good trade, but the team's success isn't quite at that S or A tier status, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's a good trade. It's a good trade. I should have put this at an A or S. On me. All right, Gimmick to Oxygen. This is in place of Krasix. Gimmick leaving version 1 for Beast Mode. Gimmick going to Oxygen with LJ and Krasix. Okay, here's the thing. If you were going to replace anyone on Oxygen, why did you replace Krasix? Like, why would you replace Krasix? Krasix is not the problem. The problem on Oxygen is 100% Toasty, and it's not about Toasty not being able to pop off. He pops off sometimes. He scores a lot of goals. It's just he's so inconsistent, and he's regularly mediocre at best, subpar is words I would describe if you were to tell me how good Toasty was. Like, Krasix being dropped off that team is a question mark for me. Why? Like if this was Toasty off for Gimmick, I would probably put this at like a B. But the thing is, Gimmick's on his way out. We've seen this 100 times before, where players, you know, they're at a top 4 level, and then they're at a top 8 level, and then they're at a top 16 level, and then the next level from that is they're out, right? Like, they're out of the scene, they're on some bubble players teams, or they're retired. Why would you pick up a team, or why would you pick up a player that's on his way out? He's just going to, this Oxygen team will just be another disappointing venture on Gimmick's way out of the scene. This is a D tier trade. There was a lot of people to pick up other than Gimmick. This feels like a band-aid fix. Sources say that LJ's on his way out, accepting tryouts now from people, which he's never done. LJ is super loyal. And I think LJ is super loyal to Toasty, but LJ's been accepting tryouts. He's been looking at different teams. You know, this is probably a band-aid fix, and the next person on his way out is LJ, and then it's Gimmick, Toasty, and I don't know who they get. Their reputation at that point will be, like, exactly what I think, which is that they're mediocre. I think you should have replaced Toasty at the next available trade deadline or whatever, if you could have. I don't remember if there was a time in which this was going on and like Worlds happened. I think there was probably a way in which you could have got Toasty out of there. But yeah, I said it. LJ is on his way out. Bandage fix for this roster. I knew this gimmick trade was not going to be good for this roster. And now they're not even on Oxygen. So, absolutely correct. D tier trade. There was a bit, I won't lie, there was a bit where people looked at Oxygen. There was about a month in the trade that people looked at Oxygen and were like, this team's not bad. This team's not bad. But as months went on, we started to realize this Oxygen roster is going nowhere. And LJ obviously looked at it and said, I'm out. And good on him. I think LJ is a great player. So 100% correct on that. 100%. I was absolutely correct. I knew that was a roster move that was going to destroy the team. Seriously, and I still stand by the fact that they could have grabbed so many other players. Look at all the players that have come up. Zanil, BU, Chronic, Two Piece. Like, there's a lot of players that they could have chose from. They chose Gimmick, and I seriously think that this roster, I know they just did this win in the roster shuffle. That doesn't freaking matter. I'm sorry. This roster is going down, 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 down. Trust. Okay. Atomic, by the way, this is the only one I have, but Atomic to G2 is actually really good. I do question Atomic's clutch gene on occasion. but you know, they're trying to win right now. They're trying to give the best way to win right now. If you're G2, you know that JNAPS has only got another year of elite play left in him, and so for Chicago, that LAN looked really bad for Chicago. I love Chicago so much, so much. I have so much respect for Chicago. It's just they did that LAN, like, that looked bad. That was probably the worst I've ever seen Chicago play, and that's scary. But this is a move to win right now, like right now, and that's kind of the what G2 should have done. Like, you know, G2 was looking at first killer for a while, and then things didn't happen. Contract negotiations fell through. Like, if they would have got first killer, it would have been really good for G2 as well. Well, anybody that got first killer was gonna be nuts, but G2's got to win right now, like literally in the next 6 months, or it's over for them as far as like their championship winning potential. So picking up Atomic to win right now is pretty good. I don't see them winning the championship with Atomic, but I think they can be in a conversation for top 3 for sure. I think I'm gonna put them. I'm gonna put them at a. I'm gonna put this at an A tier again with the Atomic trade. I think I was dead on. I really do. I think it was great that they made a move for right now, and my point still stands. I think this world that just happened was the last hurrah for this G2 roster. They will not be, like, 8 months from now, 9 months from now, this roster that we see right now will really not be anywhere near winning a Worlds. Could be wrong, but I feel like I'm not wrong about this. I think this was the best move. This absolutely was the best move. Probably should have put this on an S tier, because this was it for this G2 roster, Chicago and JNAPS. This was the last hurrah. That's all I'm going to say. It was a great move, but seriously, like I said, one more year of elite play. Seriously, I think this is going to start showing its head, like Chicago and JNAPS decline is going to start showing its head in the next 4 to 6 months. Trust me. People are about to pass them up. I think this is about to be a 5th or 6th seed roster, just moving forward. If they stay the same, I think they might drop somebody. I hope they don't. I really don't. I really just want someone to retire at that point. All right, next one is FaZe Clan using Sypical. By the way, I have the header because it hasn't been officially announced, but it is official. Trust me, guys. Sypical is going to FaZe in place of Illusion. Yeah, come on, right? I mean, I've been saying this forever. If you're FaZe, people are like, hey, don't get rid of a good thing. You guys did really well. Like, FaZe did really well. Why would you replace Illusion? You know, they did well. It's like, here's the thing. There has been tons of teams that have dropped players or released players after winning championships. Vitality was one of them. Vitality had won a championship and then dropped Scrubkilla. NRG dropped Turbo after winning a championship. Like, there's been teams that have won championships and dropped their players, and that's not even FaZe. FaZe has never won a championship. So, like, this whole mediocre, you know, being like, oh, you know, we did well, we should just keep the guys that are doing well. Here's the thing. If well is what you're doing in your first couple of months being on a team, you will never make it past the well. I guarantee you, you'll never make it past fine. You'll never make it past well. You will never just win a championship. So this change is huge, man. Huge. I like Sypical a lot. For me, he's genuinely in a top 5 conversation for NA, like best players. If people will say he's a third man, I don't believe that. I believe Sypical's a first man, and not in the ways like a traditional third man. Okay, or not a traditional first man. It's like Sypical plays defense, and then he catches it and takes control of it and starts getting it around people a bunch. His ability to get it around players, second to none. He's so nuts at that. Like, being able to get it around multiple players and making plays happen once he's the first guy in with the ball, moving it up the field is just ridiculous. You know, usually third men are going to save the ball and hit it to someone, you know, will make a play. But it's like, nah, he takes it and makes a play. Sypical for FaZe makes them literally, if again, I have problems about First Killer and the mentality, and not from First Killer, but from his father. I have issues with the potential for this to stay long term, for long term success, meaning more than a year. This is incredible for the next 3 to 6 months. This phase roster will most likely win a championship, most likely. Also, to talk about Illusion for a second, Illusion's not even bad. Like I have way more respect for Illusion's play, mainly because you knew that he was fighting for his life. Like Illusion knew that he needed to step up to have a chance at not getting dropped, and he did. I think he genuinely stepped up. It's just his peak, the peak of Illusion will never be the peak of Sypical. But man, he actually played really good. I had my doubts about Illusion. I have less doubts about Illusion now. Looking at his next team that he's going to be on, I have less doubts about Illusion's gameplay. But at the end of the day, you know, FaZe is going for a championship, and I just don't believe that with Illusion on your roster, you will win a championship. There's a lot to dissect in what I just said. Let's start with the positives. Number one, I was correct about it not being a long-term solution. This roster is not even here anymore after like 7-8 months. I did think this was a short-term solution. It usually always is with First Killer. There never really is a team that lasts for a long time with him. This whole rant was actually cut off accidentally. What's about to happen right now? But basically it was in response to people saying that they should have stuck with Illusion. And I was basically just going with like, where's Illusion at right now? 8 months down the line. Illusion, it would have been down, not up. They wouldn't have went up in trajectory. They would have went down over time. They would not have placed top 4, what was it, top 4, top 8 in Worlds. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm serious. With Illusion, I doubt it. Because, look, where's Illusion at right now? Where's he at? I don't even know. Like, Mist is gone. I think Illusion's going to be playing with Drees, with... I don't know who's going to be on the roster. I have no clue. Like, trust me, this roster went under the radar, and it's going to keep going under the radar unless they find, like, the best replacement for Mist I've ever seen. I don't know. I feel like, you know, Envy's a big org, so maybe you'd want to play with a big org, big salary. That might be the only thing enticing to players, but, like, this roster as it stands, Drees and Illusion, not the greatest. Like, if you're looking at joining a team, it's not going to be the greatest joining a team. The only reason why I think that this FaZe roster did not work with Sypical is because, remember when I was talking about how he plays the game? He's a third man, and then he becomes a first man. When you make him the first man, he can actually do really well, but the entire team can do good as first men, and made him play very third man based, like extremely typical or standard third man, which is really weird. They just didn't utilize Sypical in the way that I expected them to. Him to be that, like, first man guy, but I guess you can't really be a first man guy when First Killer's there, and first is literally in his freaking name. I'm over it. I was crying for the last, like, 3 minutes. But, yeah, unfortunately, this roster... Still, it stayed the same. People want to talk about, like, oh, boo-hoo, you know, Illusion's gone. They stayed the exact same. And I stand by, like, they had more of a potential to win a world than they did with Illusion. I still stand by that. And hopefully I'm just... I don't know. I think it wasn't an S. I think it was an A. I think if I would have replaced anything in this roster, or this whole thing, I would have put Beast Mode at an S tier, this phase one at an A tier. There you go. Maybe even put this Atomic one at an S tier as well. And last but not least, Sypical leaving SSG means that SSG will be picking up Daniel. I love Daniel, man. Daniel is something else. Like, Daniel's crazy. Daniel could potentially... I think when it's all said and done, if nothing drastic happens, if it's all said and done, Daniel will go down as a top 3 to top 5 player all time in Rocket League. It's not even questionable to me. Him on SSG is great, but here's the thing. He's replacing Sypical, and I believe that Arsenal is slowly getting worse. He's replacing Sypical, which was their best player, and Daniel will be their best player. It's just, when you're replacing the best player on a team with the best player on the team, it's not going to take them, like, to incredible heights. if Daniel and Civical were on the same team with like Retals or Arsenal, like oh my god, like whole thing. But because you're replacing your best player for your best player, like now is it's a good change, and I'm really excited to see Daniel at the high level, like a really high level. I'm excited to see if all the hype is showed. But man, for real, Daniel on this SSG team, incredible. For Daniel, I think Daniel can definitely build something in SSG. I just as an actual roster move, just because you lost Sipical and you got Daniel, it's average. It's average. Like that's the best person they could have picked to replace Sipical, and they got him, and that's awesome. It's just it's not like a huge upgrade.
That right on the money. B tier, perfect. They didn't move a bit. Not a bit with Daniel. I don't even think they won a regional this last 9 regionals. I don't think they won a single regional with Daniel. And it's seriously, in my opinion, it's because you didn't keep Sipical. You had Daniel, Lucian, freaking Daniel, Retals, and Arsenal, and you see Retals and Arsenal kind of had that whole falling out thing. I seriously think this roster would have been deadly with Sipical, Daniel, and either Arsenal or Retals. It didn't matter. I just, again, like I said, I knew. I knew this wasn't the blockbuster trade just because of who they dropped for Daniel. Daniel's still a stud. Let's be honest, Daniel's still a stud, but yeah, right on the money there.
Peace out, guys, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Also, Parth replacing Beast Mode is a D tier trade for me just because you lost Beast Mode. Peace.
And that last one, absolutely right on the money, obviously, now that we know how good Beast Mode is. When you lose Beast Mode, it really don't matter who you put in on that roster. It is a bad trade. Nothing really they could do. I mean, seriously though, but yeah, that roster, the Shopify one or whatever it is, yeah, it really fell off. Let's be honest, it really fell off from the heights of which it could have been with Beast Mode. Let's be honest. So yeah, good on that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I'm probably gonna come out with one going over all of the roster moves that happened recently in the last couple weeks, and I will see you guys later. Peace.
Can't be like this. It can't be like this, man.